A few months ago, I thought I had a great game idea. A pinball roguelike. I like Balatro. I like pinball. And that's all the research I needed. So I built for months. Items, a shop, different ball types, a whole grid system for placing bumpers. And it still wasn't fun. At this point, I'm about to scrap most of it and start over with a completely different direction. So this is the story of what went wrong and why it took me way too long to notice. Because the truth is, I wasn't actually understanding why Balatro worked. I was just trying to copy what I could see. At the time, this was only my third project. Before it, I'd made a couple of smaller things. Enough to understand the basics of Godot. Not enough to really know what I was doing. And when I picked this idea, there wasn't much thought behind it. I wasn't sitting there waiting options or sketching out why it would work. I just knew two things. I liked Balatro and I liked pinball. And as far as I could tell, nobody had really put those two together. That felt like enough. Looking back, what I was actually chasing wasn't a good design. It was uniqueness. I wanted to make something that stood out from other solo devs projects. Not another platformer, not another survival crafting game. Something that hadn't really been done before. And there it was. Pinball. And Balatro already worked, so combining the two felt like a shortcut to something good. But what I never asked, not once, was why Balatro worked. I just knew that it did, and that it made me want to keep playing. I figured if I built something that looked similar enough, that feeling would come along with it automatically. Turns out, that's not really how game design works. Who knew? So I didn't research it. I didn't break down what actually made those decisions in Balatro matter. I opened Godot and started building, and told myself I'd figure the rest out along the way. Once I started building, I learned a lot. Just not the thing I actually needed to learn. I added an item system, a shop, different ball types with different effects. Each one taught me something about actually structuring a game in Godot, solving real problems instead of tutorial problems. And every time I finished something, it felt like progress. The game looked more like the idea in my head. The closest I came to testing was checking if the ball physics worked. Did it bounce the way it should? Did the scoring register correctly when it hit something? And once it did, I basically considered that green light. But that's not the same as testing if the game is fun. I never actually stopped and asked the question. I checked if the mechanics worked. I never checked if the mechanic was enjoyable when it's did. Because if the answer to that is no, everything you build on top is just a bigger version of the same problem. The more I added, the more that became obvious. Not because any single feature was broken, but because none of them were fixing the actual thing that was missing. So I stopped adding, and asked myself what the real problem actually was. So, let me walk you through what a round actually looked like at this point. You launch the ball, it bounces around, hits a few things and your score goes up. You've got flippers, so you can smack it up if it gets close to falling, but that's about it. Mashing flippers isn't really playing, it's just reacting to where the ball happens to be. After the round, you get some currency and you can buy an item or two. But those items only change your score number. They didn't change anything you'd actually feel next time you launch the ball. They also couldn't combine with each other yet. I was still testing the item database itself, so that layer of variation didn't exist either. In the playfield, exact same layout every single round. Compare that to Balatro, where every single head asks you to decide something. What to keep, what to discard, what to build toward. My game had none of that once the ball actually launched. So really, the whole loop was launch, watch, collect currency, buy a number, repeat. No decision that mattered during the part that was supposed to be fun, and no variation to make each one feel different from the last. Once I actually laid it out like that, the problem was obvious. So I had a fix in mind. Give the player a real decision before the round even starts. I built a grid system. Drag and drop your own bumpers onto the field, then launch it. And it worked, in the sense that it was a genuine improvement. Now you are aiming for maximum points based on your own layout, not just launching into the same static field every time. Something closer to the kind of decision Balatro asks you to make every hand. But it broke almost everything else. The old scoring system was built around how pinball normally works. The ball ricochets constantly, and that's where most of your points come from. With a grid system, players could build layouts where the ball barely bounced at all. moving through with almost no interaction with any bumpers. Which meant the scoring didn't make sense anymore, so I had to rebuild it. And once scoring changed, the items built around that scoring stopped making sense too. And once those changed, the ticket economy tied to all of it stopped working as well. One fix cascaded into rebuilding 3 separate systems. And after all of that, the gameplay still wasn't very good. At that point, I stopped trying to patch things and started actually analyzing why Balatro worked, instead of just being inspired by the feeling of it. I broke down what kept me playing around after round. It wasn't the cards themselves, or even the scoring. It was that I was constantly making decisions that mattered. Every hand asked something of me. Around the same time, I was playing a lot of Slay the Spire. In between the two, something clicked that I'd missed the entire time. Both those games gave you a reason to care about what's happening, turn by turn. Not just numbers going up, an actual goal with stakes attached to it. Balatro isn't fun because it's a card game, or because it has combos. It's fun because every single hand you play is a decision that's pushing you towards something. Beating a blind, hitting a score threshold, surviving one more round. And one of the best feelings in the entire game is blowing away past that threshold, hitting a score so far over what you needed that the number almost stops making sense. My game never had that. You launch a ball, watch the outcome, and hope the number was good enough. There was nothing to aim for, beyond a higher score, and no moment-to-moment decision pushing you toward it. That's when I landed on the direction I actually wanted. A turn-based deck-building pinball combat game. Not a copy of Balatro's system, but something built around the same idea that made it work in the first place. For the first time since I started this project, I felt like I understood what was missing. Not a feature, but a reason for any of it to matter. Here's the shape of the game I'm actually building now. Combat is turn-based. Each turn, you spend energy to play cards. A card might add damage directly to your ball. Say, +8 attack. You aim, you hit the enemy, and when the ball collides with them, it bounces back off the impact. So there's still that unpredictable pinball feeling to it, even in a structured turn. The goal is the same feeling I talked about with Balatro. Building toward a hit that goes way past what you actually needed. Not just barely scraping past an enemy's health. Or building an overpowered deck, the way Slay the Spire lets you snowball into something ridiculous by the end of a run. Some cards aren't attacks at all, they are bumpers. The same speed boost bumpers from the grid system version, for example, isn't wasted. You can place it mid-fight as a card instead of a pre-round setup. Longer term, I'd like defense to work the same way. Not a normal shield, but something built out of bumpers. You play strategically. That part's still further out. The field itself becomes part of the strategy too. Bumpers you place can be destroyed during a fight. The ones that spawn on the field naturally outside of what you place might stay indestructible. So there's a difference between the tools you bring in and the hazards already there. After your turn, the enemy gets theirs. They aim at you, bounce the ball back, and can buff or debuff themselves, like you'd expect from any turn-based fight. Eventually, I want enemies to be able to place bumpers too, so the field itself keeps shifting during a fight, not just your side of it. Outside of combat, there's a map to move through, something between Slay the Spire and Trials of Sakimas of PoE 2. Healing spaces, normal fights, elite fights, merchants, and random events. And, of course, a boss fight at the end of the run. None of this is built yet, but for the first time since I started this project, I know exactly what I'm building toward instead of feeling my way through it. Looking back, I don't think picking pinball on the whim was the actual mistake. The mistake was spending months building on top of an idea I never really tested. Thinking that adding more would eventually make it click, instead of stopping to ask if the call was fun in the first place. I thought I understood prototyping, I didn't. I was testing if the mechanics worked, not if they were worth playing. But none of that time was wasted. The item systems, the shop, the grid system, the bumper placement, all of it is carrying over into the new version, just in a different shape. Even an idea like the speed boost bumpers from the grid version isn't gone, it's just going to show up as a card instead. I still don't know if the next version will actually work. I've been wrong about that before, more than once, and on this exact project. But for the first time since I started, I'm not just trying to copy what Balatro looks like from the outside. I actually understand what made it work. And maybe that's really the difference this time. If you want to see where this version actually works, that's basically what this channel is for at this point. I'll be documenting the whole rebuild as it happens. If you're into that, subscribing is the easiest way to catch the next one.